The storm rolled over the coast like a living thing, waves pounding the black rocks and spraying white foam high into the air. Captain Imad stood at the prow of his ship, the Sea Serpent, his cloak snapping in the wind. He had sailed through storms before, fought pirates, even outwitted sea monsters in waters no map dared to mark. But tonight the air felt different, charged, as if the sea itself were holding its breath. Lightning flashed, illuminating the jagged cliffs ahead, and there, on a rocky rise above the crashing tide, Imad saw it, a sword, gleaming in the rain, buried deep into the stone. They said the sword had been there for centuries, older than any kingdom, placed there by a ruler whose reign ended in fire and betrayal. It was called the Blade of Elric, and legend claimed only the one worthy of leading all lands could draw it from the stone. Many had tried, from greedy warlords to noble knights, but the sword had never moved. Imad had never cared for such stories, he was a captain, not a king. But something about the way the lightning struck behind it, setting the blade aglow like a shard of the moon, pulled at him. Bringing his ship to anchor in a sheltered cove, Imad climbed the slippery path up the cliff. The rain stung his face, and the wind clawed at his hair, but he pressed on until he stood before the sword. It was larger than he expected, its hilt wrapped in worn leather, a single gem set into the pommel. The gem flickered faintly, like an ember about to die. Imad reached out, not to claim it, but to feel if it was truly real. The moment his hand touched the hilt, the storm roared louder, and the ground trembled. From behind him came a voice deep as the tide. Many come for the sword, but few come without wanting it for themselves. Imad turned to see a figure standing in the rain, draped in a cloak of midnight blue. His eyes were bright and unblinking, like those of a hawk. "Who are you?" Imad asked. The man smiled faintly. "The one who watches. The one who keeps the sword from falling into the wrong hands." Before Imad could respond, a horn sounded from below. On the shoreline, black-sailed ships were landing, raiders known as the Iron Fleet. Their leader, a brute named Kale, had sought the Blade of Elric for years, convinced it would make him unstoppable. Imad's ship was outnumbered, his crew scattered along the coast. Kale's men were already charging up the cliff path, torches blazing in the rain. The cloaked man stepped closer to Imad. "If you take the sword now, they will never stop hunting you. But if you leave it, Kale will tear this land apart to get it." Imad looked down at the enemy climbing toward him, then back at the sword. He wasn't a king, but he was a captain who had never turned away from a fight worth having. He gripped the hilt with both hands. The stone was cold beneath his boots, the rain running down his face, but he pulled, not with force, but with steady resolve. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like the crack of ice on a frozen river, the sword slid free. Light burst from the gem, flooding the cliffside, and the rain seemed to pause midair. The cloaked man's eyes widened. "It has chosen," he whispered. Imad barely had time to register the weight of the blade before Kale's men reached the summit. They hesitated, blinking against the brilliance, but Kale himself charged forward, roaring. Imad met him in the center of the cliff, steel ringing against steel. The sword moved in his hands as if it had always known him, striking true, driving Kale back step by step. Lightning split the sky as the captain and the warlord clashed, the storm seeming to rage in time with the fight. When Kale fell to his knees, the remaining raiders broke and fled, scrambling down the path to their ships. Imad stood, breathing hard, the blade still glowing faintly. The cloaked man approached. "The sword is yours now. Not because you wanted to be a king, but because you acted when no one else could. The sea may be your home, but this land will look to you in times of need." Imad looked at the sword, then out at the dark waves below. "I am no king," he said quietly. The man smiled. "Perhaps not. But kingship is not always a throne, it is the choice to stand when others turn away." By dawn, the storm had passed. Imad sheathed the Blade of Elric and returned to the Sea Serpent. The sword's weight was strange at his side, not heavy, but certain, as though it knew there were battles yet to come. And as the sails caught the wind, the captain looked once more at the cliffs where he had found it, knowing that one day he would be called back, not as a seeker of legends but as the one who had become part of one.